Hello and thank you for tuning in to today's webinar with Panorama Consulting Group. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Oracle NetSuite's own Allison Griffin, Principal Industry Solution Advisor. Allison received her bachelor's degree at James Madison and her master's degree at Georgia Tech. She spent her entire career in the supply chain field, the last 7 of which have actually been with Oracle NetSuite. Today we're going to get some helpful tips from her to help you find an ERP that can streamline the enterprise supply chain. Thanks for joining us today, Allison.
Thank you, Justin.
Before we get started, we at Panorama want to thank the viewers of our webinars. So we will be giving away a free consulting session to the first 3 respondents after today's webinar. Stay tuned all the way to the end of this webinar to get some more information on this opportunity. With Panorama Consulting Group being an independent niche consulting firm, we specialize in business transformation and ERP system implementation for mid to large size private and public sector organizations worldwide. We also specialize in OCM strategies and business process management, among many other solutions you can see here. The biggest industries we work alongside are from within manufacturing, professional services, and technology, but we deal with many other sectors and clientele. Speaking of clients, our client portfolio includes many well-known local, national, and global customers across multiple industries. We also offer a deep and comprehensive ERP experience with hundreds of available packages that we have evaluated and implemented for our clients. So let's go ahead and dive in, Allison. It seems like all we hear in the industry these days is supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. We've become a society that's kind of used to getting what we want when we want it. And when our stuff's kind of stuck on a cargo ship in Suez Canal, we can get a bit agitated, right?
Very true. Solving the supply chain, what comes from where, from who, how it gets there, what happens when it gets there, who makes these decisions, who gets the job done. It's not an easy task. So the supply chain has not been something that's always been a huge challenge because of what's happened in the last few years, but it's a challenge nonetheless. So let's see how close we can get to resolving it. But first, I'd like to discuss some of the challenges that we face.
Okay, so the phrase supply chain starts with supply, of course. So this might mean raw materials, finished or partially finished products or goods. The process of getting these goods and from who, how do we figure that out?
Great question. If we've learned anything in the last few years, I think that a diverse supply network is key. It's not always easy based on the products you need, compliance challenges, and many more factors that revolve around the supplier network. But as the supply chain has evolved, so has the supplier network. Most stuff is available everywhere. But even if it requires a bit higher purchase contract, maintaining relationships with vendors all over the globe makes a lot of sense, seems like nowadays. Suppliers have also really made the supplier network much simpler with portals and a lot of other options, software options to communicate to their network. So, getting products to their distributors at the right time, at the right place, and really communicating that information to them.
So what kind of challenges of bringing this piece of the puzzle in-house are there?
It depends. If I don't have a garage and know how to fix a transmission, I'm not going to attempt to fix a transmission and stick my daughter in the car. Point being, building a manufacturing facility, learning the craft, it takes time and money. It requires evaluation. So figuring out the ROI to determine whether bringing supply in-house is worth it. That said, I have seen manufacturing facilities that have been very nimble. So they can, switch the product they're making today to the product they're making tomorrow from a manufacturing facility perspective. So, you might have been making plastic cups, but with COVID, you can shift to making face masks tomorrow from a manufacturing perspective.
So let's kind of move into and talk about competitive bidding a little bit. What does that part play in the supply chain?
Well, this goes back a little bit to the supplier network piece. So, I made the comment that you can get most things everywhere. Not always true. You can't necessarily get everything everywhere. I've come across circumstances where there are certain items that are only available in a couple of places of the world or a couple of factories that actually offer those items. So, you have to pay special attention to that as a manufacturing or a supplier company to understand that.
Last but certainly not least is today's economy, the buzzword, inflation.
Yes.
So when it comes to product inflation, what role does that play in the supply chain specifically?
Inflation is always going to be inflation. It's going to come and go. Right now, I think we can all agree that it's not pretty, but it does play a role in different markets more than other markets. So you and I both need to go get groceries. From a market perspective, I still may go to my grocery store. I might go to the Dollar Tree, right? So it's a very marketed based concern. It's not going to go away. It's going to come and go. And whether I go to the Dollar Tree and you go to somewhere else, that's just going to be kind of what it's going to be. Whether it affects food markets, you and I both need food, so we're going to get food. Whether we need clothes, whether we need cars, whether we need whatever else we need, that's going to really affect the supply chain market.
So now that we've talked about a little bit about the stuff that we need to get, i.e. products, how do we get it here?
So making and understanding where it's coming from, not easy. I think we've understood that. Getting here, really just as big of a challenge. Top to bottom, diversification is still key, but understanding priority is also very important when it comes to transportation. So particularly in the last couple of years, a lot of the question has been, do we move stuff by container, which it's going to take a while. And as you mentioned earlier, getting stuff stuck in the Suez Canal is not convenient. Or do we move stuff by freight, by airplane? And that costs a lot more. So that's not an easy decision to make. And it's a decision that your software companies and your consulting teams can help make for you.
All right, so once we get the inventory here or there, wherever it may be, another challenge kind of comes up. How should the warehouse be laid out?
So warehouse layout, it's really a business in itself. For enterprise-sized businesses, we're often talking about pretty large facilities that require more than just the racking decision. May also require automation. So when we talk about automation, this might be roll conveyors, move towards automated conveyors with scanning systems, some more automation such as like pick to light, pick to voice, can get really complex where you have warehouse execution systems, manufacturing execution systems, if there of course is a manufacturing piece. So once you figure that out, you move on to the next steps.
All right, so we built the warehouse to make some sense now. What's next?
Optimizing your warehouse. So this often comes to warehousing systems and receiving, putting the items away into the right locations, picking, packing, shipping in an efficient manner, and then moving on to the next step.
Okay, so you picked it, you packed it. Let's go ahead and get these things out the door now. So how was that decision made specifically?
That's a tough one. So this generally depends on the business model. So you might be building full truckloads to containers. So you might need a transportation management system. This is not only going to help with some of the upstream processes, so figuring out how to pick, pack, and ship, but actually how to get it out the door. But you might be in a simpler scenario where you just need shipping optimization, which is, LTL parcel rate shopping, figuring out the right carriers. Maybe you're just a B2C customer who just needs parcel integration. Maybe you're shipping with your own trucks, and that's where the TMS piece comes into place. So a lot of options on the outbound side that make sense that have to be considered.
All right, so everything we've spoken about thus far really requires people. So without people, supply chain doesn't really happen, right?
So the world goes around with people. Finding the right people at every single area. So not only in the receiving department, in the shipping department, in the the warehouse department, all of that matters. But also other areas, right upstream. So accounting, making sure that the numbers are working out and everything. That does make the world go round. So finding that proper group of people is extremely important, and including those people in the entire process, very important too.
All right, so far we've really discussed a lot of different challenges that need solving. How do we do that?
So number one is understanding the challenges. And that's kind of part of what we spoke about, is understanding what's going on in the various portions of business. And understanding, hey, where are we falling short at the end of the day? Are we losing product? Are we losing money in terms of procurement? What possibly are we doing to not really fit the bill? Make sure the proper people are there to understand all of that, right? So it could be your accounting team, could be your procurement team, could be your sales team, could be your warehouse team, could be any of those groups that can actually make sure that happens, so that you're sitting in a room with one another and figuring out how to fix those problems. And I've been in a lot of situations where there's a lot of disparate groups, right? There might be an accounting team, there might be a procurement team, there might be a sales team, and everybody's sitting in different rooms, different places in the warehouse, and they They don't understand that hey, we got to get in a room, figure out, let's work with each other. So that's a really important factor to solving the supply chain issue, right? Because everybody has to work together. So the last piece, choose the proper software package, right? And that's where choosing the right consulting firm can help you with that, is choosing the proper software package. And understanding all the pieces above, of course, as well, but choose the proper software package that's going to basically hit it out the park for you guys. Make sure that you are solving the problems, the concerns, the questions that you guys need.
So like you previously mentioned, you've been on site many times, kind of seen the works. What have you seen? Do you care to elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. As many times as I've been on site, I've seen a lot of interesting things. I mentioned that putting people in rooms together is very important. But I've also, I've been in the accounting room. I've been in the manufacturing space. I've been on the freight docks, and seeing all those things again really, really helps understanding what's going on with a particular company, and helping kind of have that conversation so that we can figure those things out. So it again, it might be all 3 spaces or 5 spaces or 10 spaces, whatever it is, and sitting in the room with the customer to understand what's going on at that point in time.
So let's move into the next point that you kind of touched on a little bit there of choosing the right people. Who really should be included?
Really, every person that's involved in operations should be included. Maybe at different times, maybe in different portions of the decision making, but everybody that's involved in the supply chain for a company should be included in the decision making process. Obviously in different ways. So your CEO and COO might be included in slightly different ways than your warehouse staff, but if you don't know what's going on from top to bottom, then you're making the wrong decision. Everybody should have a say in kind of the decision-making process.
I definitely agree there. We've kind of touched on a little bit all about challenges and selection, things of that sort. The last piece you kind of noted on was software package. So how do you figure out the right software packages for you?
This is something that that I think Panorama absolutely can knock down, and that's why we're having this discussion. Choosing the right software package, it's a huge decision, and I'll always just say that because probably in this day and age, when you choose a software package, you're choosing something for long term. It's not just for a year, a couple of years. It's for hopefully permanently, but maybe not. So choosing the right software package is kind of really a decision that when you have chosen Panorama, who I think they speak for themselves in terms of everything we've spoken about, is going to make the right software decision for you guys. And it's going to be a decision that's going to handle all of the feature function pieces that you guys need. They're going to handle the consulting and all of the implementation and be able to work with the solution moving forward so that they're implementing the proper package for your team. So speaking about software, as Justin mentioned earlier on, I work for Oracle NetSuite. We may or may not be the proper solution for your company, but just to kind of discuss who NetSuite is and what we do. NetSuite has 29,000 customers worldwide, and we've killed 6,000 more logos in the last 12 months. We're a very successful software company, and we offer a very robust ERP solution. So moving into that, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I'm just going to kind of give folks a second to peruse some of the feature function that we offer. So very robust financial features, very robust ERP features. So it's full order management, procurement, warehouse management, and also CRM and HCM and project management. We've also introduced a lot of other features to the product, and it's very, very worth your while to take a look at it and see what we can do.
Wow, that's a lot of functionality right there. So we want to thank you, Allison, again for your coming, for your insight, advice, all the solutions, and really just your time. Really appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin.
Alrighty, so to finish things up here, and for those who stayed the entire time, we want to reward the first 3 respondents with a free consulting hour with our digital transformation experts. So go to panorama-consulting.com and enter the code free consultation, along with filling out the how can we help section of the form. If you'd like to inquire about Panorama's comprehensive services, feel free to visit our website at panorama-consulting.com, or you can reach out directly to our Director of Innovation, Alan Salton, at alan.salton@panorama-consulting.com. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great day.